Well, we have no spark whatsoever on this John Deere. I've tried a couple of spark plugs and this cable is not working. It's broken on the other end as I showed. So I loosened this nut and pull this throttle cable back and forth, but there's no wire that I can see for a cutoff switch anyway. So I'm going to have to take the cover off here and see if we've got possibly a sheared flywheel key and or a bad magneto in here. I'm going to do a compression test on this John Deere. This engine's got a little bit of age on it, so let's see what the numbers look like on it. And I would say the compression is good on this engine. It's close to 60 pounds dry and it's cold. And we have many years of dirt and debris after taking this gas tank off. See if I can blow some of this off before I take this cover off. And that looks much better to take off. So we have two 3/8 nuts here on the front of this cover. Got to also take this cable off. It's a 1/4 inch nut to take off for the oil dipstick here. And the two 3/8 inch nuts on the bottom of this cover to come out as well. And the cover's off. It doesn't look too bad. I'm going to first just disconnect this cutoff switch wire, which I found over here, to see if we get any spark, if maybe those are short in there. That's one thing to always check. So this is the mechanism when you hold the bar down on your handle. This is a cable that releases this brake on the flywheel, and it also releases this cutoff switch here with this wire in here. So I'm going to remove this wire just to eliminate to see, make sure that's not a short in that wire. But this is what this looks like when you activate that. Kind of releases the brake off the flywheel, and you can see it moving off that cutoff switch. So still no spark after removing this wire from the cutoff switch, so that's not the problem. So I'm going to put it back on. But I have found where these switches were bad. I'm going to take off the flywheel and check the flywheel key in this John Deere Briggs and Stratton engine. I'm going to use my air gun and a 15/16 inch socket to take this off. And here we go. Takes it right off. Now let's check the flywheel key. And this flywheel key looks okay. I'm going to go ahead and take the flywheel off and replace it anyway, but it doesn't look like it's sheared. And I put that nut back on the shaft here, and I got it even with the end of the shaft, and I'm going to tap it with a hammer. But you also want to tie the handle down so you can free up the flywheel and get it away from this magnet. And here we go. And that loosened it up. Just a couple taps. Flywheel's off. Oh boy, look at all the dirt. And the key looks just fine. We're going to replace it anyway. And I still have my packet of lifetime of flywheel keys, so we'll put a new flywheel key in here. And it's a matter of dropping the key in there. And just slide it in. New flywheel key. Now we're going to check the spark again and possibly replace this magneto. While I've replaced the flywheel key, I actually saw nothing wrong with the one in there. So the only thing left is the magneto. So I happen to have another one. It's a little bit different because that engine had a fan here for the throttle, but the magneto is the same, and if I recall it was still good. Still got the wire on it. We're going to swap out this magneto and see if we can get fire out of this John Deere. First got to disconnect this wire on the cutoff switch, which I had removed earlier, and put back in. Kind of watch where it goes, and There are 2 1/4-inch nuts on top of this, so let's get this magneto off. You also want to make sure that the magnet side of the flywheel, which you can always test with any piece of metal, is out of the way. It's a matter of taking this off and pulling this wire through, noting where the wire goes. It goes like so. That's where we're going to run the other one. And there's your old magneto. Don't really see anything wrong with it, but it is not firing. Let's get the other one on. This replacement magneto has a really long wire on it, so what I'm going to do is swap the shorter wire with the one that I'm taking off, which will make it route better in the engine here. So let's do that. And the wire is actually connected to this right here. So I'll pull the longer one off and swap that out. And here's the longer one. Should just pull right off. There we go. And now we'll put the shorter wire back on here. There we go. So we'll route this shorter wire. So I got the new used magneto installed. I got the cutoff switch wire installed, and this is how you set the gap for a magneto. You turn the flywheel to the side that's not magnetized, and the perfect gap is like a business card. Put a business card in between that side. It's a 1/4-inch nut, and you just tighten it up. There you go, and that's your perfect gap. And you can just pull that out. Now we can check see if we can feel any spark in here. Well, I feel something, which was more than I got before. So let's reassemble this and see. I don't think I can turn this over fast enough by hand to create any kind of spark, but I feel it a little bit just holding it. So let's reassemble this and see if we can pull it with a cord and get any kind of spark, or just go try to start this up. So this used magneto that I put on this John Deere just does not have enough spark. It's very inconsistent. So I reassembled this, and I actually have ordered me a new magneto for this, since this lawnmower is really in nice condition. And we're going to open this up now. This is an aftermarket part, but it replaces part number 802574. The magneto, so we'll open this up and compare it to the old one. I have used these before and they are fine, these aftermarket ones, this particular brand that I got, but it actually replaces this. It looks a little bit different. So let's take this inside and install this and see if we now can get some spark before it rains. And I took the cover back off. I put this all back together as I was waiting for this part. I'd even tried a different flywheel before I ordered that magneto, but it didn't make any difference. I've never seen a flywheel go bad before, but I happen to have a spare. Didn't make any difference. So let's take this one off, the magneto, and put the new one on. And the old one is off. I have to transfer this ground wire, the stop wire, over to the new one, as well as the boot for the spark plug. And you can see there is some difference in the aftermarket one compared to the Briggs and Stratton one. Got the wire transferred over. I'll put the spark plug boot on later. And we aligned this one up the same way using the thickness of a business card for the gap. Now we can give it a try and see if we're getting a spark from this aftermarket magneto. And we definitely have spark now from this aftermarket. It gave me a jolt. So I'm going to reassemble this and put the cover back on and gas tank and give this a start. Alright, let's check the spark on the John Deere now with the new magneto. Go ahead. Oh yes. Lots of spark. Alright, it'll run now.